opinion today before I participated, but the office was closed.
Okay, so
So
we have a quorum to proceed anyway.
the fact that I abstained doesn't have anything to do with the quorum, so.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Mr. McAllister? He provided a letter this morning. I have a copy if anybody would like it. So I guess we're all set.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, my pleasure. Yeah, feel free to call me back if anything does come up, though. I'm here.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
All right, thank you. All right, bye.
Jamie, what's the protocol for if someone needs interpretation to English?
I'm sorry?
If someone needs interpretation, Spanish to English, do we have an official translator?
So I think some of the members of the audience said they might feel more comfortable speaking in Spanish, and I think Jocelyn and I can translate if we need to, but I don't know if that's the appropriate protocol.
It would be okay.
It would be okay?
I would call something out of an office. We don't have any official translators not here this evening.
Okay.
Why don't we see how it goes?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to be, like a conflict of interest or anything.
So,
No, and we're not official.
Right, yeah.
all right. So I guess we'll call the meeting to order. Mary's absent. Alexa's absent. That makes Jeremy the acting chair. Do you need I gave you the minutes, right? Or the agenda, rather? Yeah. And we can start with the minutes, the draft minutes that were sent.
I have one correction.
Yep.
I don't know why it escaped me. My last name is spelled incorrectly.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So the correction is Y-R-A-Y-T-A.
Y-R-A.
Y-T-A. T as in Thomas A, and then dash M-A-R-T. And that's it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It happens all the time.
I think I copied it from somewhere, so I've been continually doing it wrong.
And yeah, no, it's all good.
Anything else? So I think that,
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
I second that motion.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Okay, so first on the agenda is the enforcement order for 50 Southside Ave. I passed out some pictures and the family is here. They received the enforcement order and they came right down. They were very concerned. And I don't know how you want to handle it.
Do we
Want
have,
them to come up here? They can come up here, they can go to the microphone.
does anybody speak English in the group?
Yeah, the daughter does, I believe.
Would you like? Okay. Can you-
Are you comfortable presenting?
I will try my best.
That's all we can ask.
Thank you.
So I passed out the pictures that your parents had brought to me, so everybody has a packet with the pictures. In fact, I'll give you one so that
I actually have the.
you can refer to them if you want.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Ellos tienen las fotos y todo. I'm just gonna translate for him as well, okay? Okay.
Could you go ahead and lower the microphone closer to your mask, please? That's good.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Perfect.
My parents, should I just start? Okay, so my parents received a letter, I guess it was a complaint received on our property, and it was regarding the land that my dad So the complaint, he believed the complaint is due to this land that is close by the river, but it's still in our property. The reason that he actually have this land, it's not dirty, it's clean, it's grass soil. It was because he's trying to do implant more grass because due to the seawater is coming all the way to our property and it's killing the grass and the tree. Also, the seawater, it's also bringing some trash to our property. So what he's trying is to balance and have the property clean as much possible as he can. If you can see on this picture, that's how high sometimes the water can get to our property. ¿Qué tamaño es la propiedad? We have our land, his land is 2.5 acres, which we only use probably 1 acre from all these, but we still try to manage and clean everything from it, even from behind. But lately it's been, I guess it was through, they built a walk side, and people when they walk in the afternoon, sometimes they probably throw trash, and all that trash, it comes to our land. And that's the reason why he's trying now to put all this dirt that you see, this grass, to put more grass on it, and to avoid. He's saying his idea is to all this that you see here, he's gonna balance out and put it all the way in, so he can put more grass on it, and that way we can keep it more clean. As you can see on this picture, those are the type of some days we clean the property because there is trash everywhere. Sometimes we also see balls, or years ago when we just recently moved to that property, all this, it was full of trash. Like you couldn't even walk or see anything through the other side because there was bricks, glasses, plastic bottles, golf balls, and it took us years for us to clean. Everyone in the family participate, and that's why he's a little surprised of the complaint, because we have for years trying to manage and clean this, try to make it like a beautiful place, not for only for us, but he likes to decorate outside. Just when people walk through it, they see it beautiful. And
The people right now, they walk around and they take a picture of our land. So I try to work together with the family. I always try to teach my son here, my wife, my daughter, to try to keep the land clean. So for years, to try to do all those things. I teach my son to try to clean the area. So I'm very surprised the people don't complain before when we pick up the bricks, more refrigerators, flat tire. Nobody complains for that. I have to pay on leeway
to throw all the trash.
We pay for that. So every weekend, my family, and we meet together and we clean the area because we're talking about the 2 acres. So we clean it. And then I put grass, I try to do everything. So now I'm surprised that somebody complained because I try to put more stuff to make it level and put more grass in my land. That's what I try to do. Especially now because I saw the people when they stop by and they take a picture and selfie. I say to my wife, I try to make this land beautiful because it's better for the city. So I never try to contaminate the world because it's no good for my son. Like teach, you gotta do better for it. Before when we water the land, we have almost 60 trees, big trees. Right now we have maybe 30 because the water.
The seawater.
I like to save the tree because for me, the tree is alive. It's alive. It's alive for them. So that is the reason. It's the first time we came over here. We have been a little nervous, I'll be honest, but trust me, we try to do better, especially for the city because we live in this city, okay? We love Lynn, so we don't try to move it to other place. So that is the reason we can move it.
Do you have anything more? Mashpee?
My mother was just saying that they pay tax every year. They pay the tax for the whole property, and we only get to use like 1 acre. Just to a safe environment for the. I don't know if you have any questions for my parents or.
Do you have anything else to say? Okay, I would like to say, it sounds like, first of all, what you're doing with your property and teaching your children and being part of the city is commendable. And we appreciate that. A lot of people appreciate that. I think what has happened here is that maybe you didn't realize that the land you have is protected by the Wetlands Protection Act. It's a law, and it has regulations. And it might be just a formality with what you intend to do to fix the land and make it better. It might just be a formality to comply with the forms and regulations of the Wetland Protection Act because of your proximity to the river. It's just a formality. But now you know, I think, that you have to proceed carefully to do all the good things you want to do because your property is right on the river. Yep.
And give her a second to translate.
Do you want to translate any of that? Do you understand?
My daughter understands it.
But do you guys understand what I said?
I understand what
Okay.
you say, but if something missing,
You need,
90%.
okay.
So,
You want to
dice
check?
que lo que puede ser es como manita de paz. Lo que pasa que donde vivimos también pertenece a lo que está aquí, a la conservación. Y que, ajá, entonces,
So I know it says right here that there's attached. Did we get a copy of the enforcement order?
I think this is the one that.
lo que él dice que a lo mejor, como no sabíamos todas las regularidades y
Ah, ok.
todas las reglas que van unidos, a lo mejor por eso lo que él trató de hacer bien, como de traer esa tierra, quizá va en contra de una de las reglas que ellos tengan.
You're right.
Okay.
Maybe we didn't know exactly.
So,
There's any way or anywhere we can go and like that way they can avoid to come here
yes,
to
and
where we can
that's a
get
good
rules?
segue into what I want to say more.
Okay.
I think, and I'm relatively new to the commission, but I think all you need to do now is to start to apply through the Wetlands Protection Act forms, the DEP forms, and just go through the motions and go through the regulations. What you're doing is exemplary to your property and taking care of it and cleaning it, and it's just a formality for you to know you need to understand the forms and the regulations and proceed with them. And I think I can't promise that the commission will always agree with you, but I think the commission will probably be in favor of all this good stuff you're doing.
And where we can
But
find-
it's a formality to follow the law and follow the regulations, and I think it's going to be better that way, now that you know.
Okay, so what is the next step I need to do right now? What is the next step? Because
That-
right now, everything is the same like you see the picture. I don't
Yeah.
touch it.
Yep.
I don't touch anything.
Perfect. I don't know, and I would refer to my senior commission members. What is the next step, guys?
I guess I'm the senior. One of the things that strikes me, looking at the pictures, is the fact that you may be attempting to make the situation better, but you may actually be making the situation worse, because the filling that you're doing here is actually gonna mean that more water is going to not be stored below, but is gonna flow onto your property. And that's one of the intents of the Wetlands Protection Act, is to avoid flooding. And the city bylaw says that there's no activities within 25 feet of a wetland resource, and one of those resources is the bank. And looking at this picture here in particular, it looks like you're filling in a considerable portion of the bank. I don't know, it's difficult to say, and I was one of the ones that went out to the site, but I only could view the site from the street because there was no one home at the time.
So-
And my concern is that you may actually be filling in and making the flooding situation worse.
So that land right there, on his mind, he's not gonna leave it like that. He was supposed to balance all that through inside to our back.
So I think you're saying you're gonna grade it back.
Yes,
Yes,
all
to make,
the,
Yeah.
to make it level.
Yeah.
And
so
that
they're
way he
not-
can-
Way
Yeah.
I put more the new grass.
and that way he
Well,
can.
this is the
I think it's-
concern, though, the filling,
No,
the
it
filling that
wasn't
is
gonna
going
leave it like-
on here,
And that,
and any filling pretty much on 100 feet
Right.
from the bank, actually, so 100 feet from here would require a filing
Right.
with the city under both the Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw. But I certainly, no one on this commission is opposed to you cleaning up the site, and it's kind of sad that you have to put up with that. But as far as filling, any soil that you bring into almost the entire site, you have a beautiful spot there. But any filling would require a filing with the Conservation Commission. And it's also for your protection that many people don't understand the impacts of filling in an area like this, that rather than protect you, it can actually cause you more damage than in the present circumstance.
I think the path forward for him would be with Scott, so that he actually can perform the work he wants to do. I don't think, I think what he is trying to explain is he's trying to add a little topsoil so he can get grass down. Not really. I get it from both sides.
So what are we talking about he needs to file? Does he need to file a
Notice of intent,
determinate,
right?
notice of intent?
I don't know, is that of intent to
Can he
do a
get by with
project?
Think
a-
so.
He can't get by with a,
I don't know
No,
how,
I
with
mean,
the
not if you're
filling
bringing
that's
ma-
on
not
that
if you're
site.
bringing- Yeah, not if you're bringing material to the site.
okay.
So Mike, this is just a question for my knowledge, I guess. Is the issue the type of material that they're using, or is it the process by which they're doing it?
To both, yeah, because first of all, I have no idea about the material. It looks like pretty good material, but,
Right,
I mean, you never know where it came from or
Right.
anything else, so I can't comment on the material. It's basically whatever activity is being performed within 100 feet of the bank
okay,
of that
just wanna show
Saugus
them.
River
This is what-
would
for this-
require a
this
filing.
instance.
okay.
Good education.
Okay.
Okay.
And it is absolutely a beautiful
Okay.
site.
That's nice. The Spanish translator? Okay. So one thing we can do, I just clarify with Jamie, you can,
Oh, and el micrófono.
oh, okay. One thing you can do, I just confirmed with Jamie, is you can schedule time to sit down with her, and she can go over all the forms together with you, with a Spanish interpreter available. So,
Where
Yeah.
you came before? Remember when you came and met me? Right on this floor.
so what we're seeing is like, because unfortunately where your property is, anytime you want to make a change or a modification, no matter what it is, you need to come to the commission because your property lies within 100 feet of a protected wetland. And
Just
we're,
for the area that's jurisdictional.
yeah, this
And-
area.
And also not, he doesn't have to come before us every time there's a piece of trash he wants to pick up.
No. But I do want to, this is on me that I didn't mention, it's also riverfront area, so there actually is a 200-foot jurisdiction.
200-foot jurisdiction.
Also, I
Eh,
have a question.
Yep.
Since this is also protected by the land or reservation, so we're getting trash too. There's anything that you guys can do to also help us to avoid that in the future?
Prevent the trash.
For collecting-
Since it's,
Sad to say, possibly cleaning up the bank or something like that, but if the property, I don't know where your property line extends to, if the property line extends all the way down, if it's private property, the city is not going to do anything. You may request that the city put up signs saying, no trash, but if the trash is being brought in by the tide and from the
Yeah.
the bike path or other things that are in that area, we really can't do anything, and the city's not gonna send out.
If
I
it's a
believe, I don't wanna speak for anybody
Yeah,
else,
no.
but I believe they're not gonna send anyone else.
If it's a
But
bike
it's
path, though,
it's
could
a
they put a
beautiful
receptacle-
piece of property and
yeah,
worth,
and that's why we're
worth
trying to
protection.
avoid the contamination in
If
the
it's coming
area.
from the bike path, could they add a receptacle along it?
They could put something, they could certainly ask to have signs put up on the bike path.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I would think they might have when they finish anyhow, but I would hope so.
Could she go in the microphone, because we are being recorded?
One of the things that I would like to add in this situation is that is very beautiful, the bike path that they did there.
Yep.
But we walk sometimes with my husband over there, and we pick it up a lot of, even when we walk, because we don't like, we try to protect our planet. So, and a lot of people, they walk there and they throw it out, the bottles, the cane, a lot of stuff. And that is the reason, a lot of trash coming to our property.
Yeah.
But it's something that can be very nice from the city if they can put signs or, with the people who walk. Sometimes they go to fish on the other side and they leave the, a lot of trash.
Yeah.
We can see that.
Yeah, from fishermen and stuff. I think that's, they need to put signage.
We can request it.
Okay.
We got dirt, so what he's trying to do, because of the back of the land, every time the water comes in, takes a portion of the land. So he's just trying to make it even, not trying to go into the dam. Just make it even with a clean dirt, and, to make it look green. But
I think that might be something that we would approve, but he's still, and the family still has to apply
yeah,
for our approval.
something that
And
didn't,
looking
we
at
didn't
this
know.
picture here, that's something we would not have approved, the dirt going down the bank.
Yeah,
So
so,
that's gotta be cleaned up.
yeah,
Where?
but that's what I'm saying is, nothing is going into the bank, and we just, throw it there, and then try to, spread it
Yeah, I get
into our land. And, so, we're gonna plant more grass.
That's
What
that's
you
a
say
good
about
intent.
about the,
You need to get
the rules, and
permission,
get it
that's all.
with
Right.
you, so, something that we didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
understandable.
understand.
Yeah, we
And
understand.
it's good to know now.
Yeah.
Now, just to make it clear, don't do anything, no grass, no nothing, no grading, no nothing, until we meet, the forms go, everything, and that gets approved, then do it. Right now, start. Right now, start.
The last thing I do want to say, because he talking about he doesn't know, he saying that, I hear that he doesn't know what kind of stuff we put on the land.
Dirt, yeah.
So I want to tell you, this is a grass soil, because one of my friends, he take the grass, the old grass soil, because he make a pool in his house. And that's why I asked him, this is a good stuff, so that's what I do in my land. So I you know, the cement, the asphalt, we cannot put on there, I know that, because it's contamination. That's why I say, okay, you put on my land because my plan is with the good stuff. So I want to explain to him, it's a good, it's no contamination.
Yep.
So, that's it. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So come see me. Yep.
Okay, you know when?
Should we call and make an appointment?
Yeah, you can.
Thank you very much, and we apologize.
One last item. Do you know who your ward counselor is?
I think
Yeah.
he's Ward 6. Is it
Your
Joe
ci-
Walsh?
Your the city politician, the ward counselor. You should find out, you have a politician, a ward counselor for your ward, yeah? And I don't know who it is.
I think it's Jay Walsh.
Jay
Ward
Walsh?
6, right?
Ward 7.
Oh,
So
Ward
Jay
7.
Walsh, you can go to the city's website and look at the city council, and you have a city councilor, a ward counselor for your ward, Jay Walsh. You should contact him about the problems you have with the litter on the railway. Maybe he can do more for you.
I can give you his information when you come in.
Yeah,
Okay?
okay?
You're welcome.
Let him know, Jamie, it's either Jay Walsh or Freddie Holden.
Yeah, I'll look.
I'm not sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
See, Claro.
I think it might be Jay.
I think so too, but I'm not positive.
All right, moving right along. Notice of intent, Lanzillo Lane, continued from the May meeting. This morning, we received a letter from our expert. Does everyone have it? I can pass it out.
Do I have a copy?
If you have a copy, I'll take one too.
I'll just pull it up on here. I feel bad with printing all this stuff. It's like counterintuitive.
Jamie, I'm going to go on the record as abstaining because of an Ethics Commission filing and the fact that I have issued a disclosure to the Lynn City Council, and I have not had a response and was unable to contact the city solicitor's office today.
Okay.
I will abstain.
Attorney Vitale? Or, is that okay with you?
Quickly read the letter from the commission's most recent engineer, Mr. McAllister. I know that Gio, who's here with me, has been in contact with him. I just want to say at the outset that it may seem like we were on divergent paths, but I think from the beginning, my client's position has always been to comply with whatever the Conservation Commission would require. For some of you, it's a short version of a journey, but for some of us, it's been a journey since the winter of 2020, and today is the summer of 2022. As you know, there have been 4 engineers that have looked at this project. There's been at least 2, maybe 3 site visits. And again, I think if we succeed in getting it right, then it was all well worth it. And I would suggest to you that we think it's right. We would just hope that now you would close the hearing, which has gone on in this group since at least I think February or January. Gio's here to answer any questions that somebody may have. He's been dealing with Mr. McAllister, and I would say that Mr. McAllister has been direct and forthright in his approach. We certainly tried to cooperate and follow his suggestions as we did with Mr. Reardon, because as I said at the outset, I say again, it's been our intention to try to comply, and after much time and many dollars expenditure, I think we've arrived at the point where all of the information that would be required by the members to make a determination we think is before you. So we got a simple request, just close the hearing, and then it's up to the members to determine what they want to do from there. Gio's here to answer any question that any member may have.
I have a question for Attorney Vitale.
Sure. Attorney Vitale, could you stay?
When you say close the hearing, what do you mean by close the hearing?
It's been continued by you, or this group, since at least February. So, because it's a public hearing, it goes on and on and on. At some point, before your tenure in service, we raised this back in December. And the problem we had in December is that there wasn't a lawful quorum, so we could never get to the end. So we never got to the end, and we started again. But now we think we're at the end with this group. And so at some point, the commission has to determine that they have all the information that they are required to have from us or from anyone else. And you've got Water and Sewer has submitted letters, you've got your McAllister report, you have the previous reports. So at this point, I would think by closing the hearing, there's no longer a public hearing where we would get up and participate or anybody else can, and it's up to the commission then to decide what they want to do and make a decision.
It's closed by
I
vote.
see. I think I understand. Thank you.
Questions from any of the members or comments?
I have a question, and it's addressed to Mike Toomey. I know you're abstaining, and you've excused yourself, Mike. You generated a draft list of orders of conditions for this a while back. Are you,
With response from members.
right, do you, if we proceed with this, the next step is to issue orders of conditions,
So we would take a vote to close the public hearing
right,
and then.
and
vote-
proceed
Correct.
so that they can file, what's the next step? We issue orders of conditions
Correct,
so that they can proceed.
yes. And I believe they'll move back to the planning board for,
Yep.
because their approval is pending this.
Right.
Um,
And we have, as most people know in this room, a rather lengthy standard list of orders, standard orders of condition. This project requires very special orders as well. And there was a draft list of those special orders of conditions going around that need to be attached to the standard orders of condition.
So incorporated into a vote.
Yes. Having said that, and having seen the results of our consulting engineer, John McAllister, and the cooperation with the design engineer, Giovanni Federa, in making changes, I, for one, am satisfied and would like to move forward with the special orders of conditions attached to the standard orders of conditions.
Mhm.
So that's my position for my fellow members. I'd like to hear where everyone else is. Maybe we can move forward with this, maybe not. So that's where I am. I'm willing to move forward with special orders of conditions.
So, would you like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a
I
second?
second that.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to close the public hearing.
Well, I think there's some people here that may like to speak, so we should give them a chance to speak before we close.
Okay, I was not aware of that, by all means.
So just, is there anybody here that wants to speak about this project?
So I think they spoke
Yep, I just wanted to make sure. Said
Okay, so the motion is on the
Hold
floor
on, I'm
with a
thinking.
second.
When did you guys speak? Sorry.
The,
The time before last? Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. No, I was just wondering if it was April. Okay.
I would like to speak to the abutters that are here. I didn't know they were here. I want to let them know that in regards to the questions about drainage onto Judge Road, the existing drain pipe, that was addressed in writing by the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission engineer. Also, we hired on our dime, I believe, a consulting engineer, a peer review of their engineer. He found some stuff, he found some good stuff. Their engineer agreed. He found other stuff, they discussed it, and it wasn't applicable. So it's a very complex site. But I think it's engineered just about the best it can be. And I feel comfortable with the requirements that are put on us, that we have done due diligence with the Lynn Water and Sewer Commission and double down engineering, even since we joined in February. And I wanted you to know that we went the extra mile to make sure this was as best it could be, and it met regulations. And that's why I feel comfortable to move on. I want you to know that. You still have a chance to speak before we close the public hearing. But I wanted you to know what happened since you spoke, and that's what happened, and that's why we're moving on. They're going to do a number of things
I can send her
around the issues.
the
If-
water and sewer letter.
yeah.
I can email it to you tomorrow. Jody, right?
So, anything else, Joey?
I have a question. Would this be before we close or after to talk about, I have a question about bullet point number 4. I think that would be part of the order of conditions if I'm right.
I think you could bring it up now as well, if you wanted to.
Okay, yeah, sure. I don't know if from the representative, I wanted to talk about bullet point number 4, where it says the June 16th response letter states that a homeowners association proposal. So I just wanted to hear from the Lenzillow Lane crew, how do you intend to make that happen?
That would be a special order of condition.
Yeah, no, but I want to hear from them as well.
Sure, yeah. What was the, can you just repeat what you wanted?
Yeah, sure. So bullet point number 4, you look down where it says the June 16th response letter. So you guys talked about a homeowners association proposal. So I just wanted to kind of get an idea of what you were intending for that to look like.
The homeowners association?
Like, are you intending for like a homeowners association, like how are they going to be held accountable to making sure that the runoff and snow removal are within compliance?
So that's more legal,
There
actually.
we go. Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
When we have homeowners, there will be an agreement among them. You could put that in the order of conditions that we have a homeowners association. I can't form a homeowners association when I don't have a homeowner.
No, I understand that. That was my question. So it's like how,
But I'm just saying, to deal with that, that can be part of the order of conditions.
Or is there
Because I think there was a
boilerplate?
comment at the end of what I just read.
We built subdivision previous.
In Linfield,
And
yeah.
usually what happens, the last 2 houses, the people become the members of association. You know what I mean? And they take care of the stormwater drain in the street, they take care of the
It's
snow,
an
they share
agreement
the
among
bill.
the people
It's
who
like
own it.
condo association, you move in the condo, you pay $300. You know what I mean? But until the houses are done, they don't know how much the share is gonna be. They find out, because you don't know how much the taxes are gonna be. You know what I mean? So that's a question in the end, after the houses are done. You know what I mean? That's how it works.
So what
I
you're
built
saying
3
is that
subdivisions, so that's how it works.
that we would create a legal entity. that would have each homeowner, once they became an owner, participate as a member, and then there would be an assessment to ensure that there's sufficient funds. Not unlike if you're familiar with owning a condominium. Condominiums have monthly maintenance fees, and that funds a budget. Part of the budget might be a reserve for certain things. I have a condominium in construction in Marblehead, and stormwater maintenance is a budget item in the budget. And so people then get assessed either an annual fee or a monthly fee to contribute towards that, so that there's always a sufficient amount of money to ensure compliance with whatever those requirements. There was another observation that was made about easement. So I can't draw an easement until I know first where the pipes are going. Secondly, I have to have the grantor, which would be the owner of the property, grant the easement to whomever. So part of this is in place and part of it isn't. But in terms of your perspective, those are items that you feel must be addressed, and you have the authority and the power to place those in either special conditions or in the, after the general order of conditions. But in any event, we'd have to, whether you did it or not, we'd have to do it, because at the end of the day, when all the houses are sold, we're gone, and this is going to be perpetual, annual, continued expense. My experience is that there was the mention about the water and sewer commission. They don't want to take on, nor does the city of Lynn, want to take on the obligation to fund something that's on private property, so that they're going to be insistent as well. And then, as Jamie pointed out, we have to still go back to the planning board, and they will put certain covenants in place that make us post the bond. So this is believe it or not, is a step along the way towards getting all of those approvals. But at the end, when we get those items, then we can construct the homes, and once we construct the homes, we can sell the homes, and once we sell the homes, we got homeowners. And then they'll all be a part of that arrangement, and they'll all have to contribute an undetermined sum at this point, because we don't know yet what we need to set aside and how much each homeowner is going to have to contribute, and whether it's going to be an annual fee or a monthly fee. But as far as the broader outline of that need and necessity, I think you could address that by essentially following what the last paragraph of Mr. McAllister's report was that I read in this letter just now.
Okay, thanks.
I mean, I think we'd like to see some sort of a framework for how that would look, just to get an idea of it. I mean, so that we're comfortable moving forward, but not just that. I think it's also required by DEP under the notice of intent. I mean, do you have any kind of a framework for how that would work once the homeowners association is formed?
Thank you, that's what my question was trying to get at.
So is there some boilerplate
I understand the
language that they
homeowners
would
association hasn't been formed. I'm asking about how it will work once it is.
Once it works, because there's a document that gets recorded, number one, and secondly, it's in everybody's deed. So these are all public records. They all bind the title to the ownership, and it's an obligation. So again, I'll go back to the example of a condominium. You buy a condominium, okay? You pay a monthly.
Right, I
maintenance.
understand how that, I'm saying,
Well, it's very similar. A condominium has what's called an association, a condominium association. They're all unit owners. They all own essentially single-family homes. They all contribute. But to me, to say today that they're going to pay $250 a month, $500 a year, I have no clue.
That's, if I may.
yep, go for it.
Something like a member from the team here would commit to coming to the first homeowners association meeting, letting them know what the concerns are, what they specifically need to be addressing, or something like drafting out like a first bylaw that they would have to kind of abide by, so they're aware of, because I understand what you're saying. I get it, you know, like those are things that they would have to look into anyway, just like so that they're aware of like where the concern areas are that bullet point number 4 brings up, so that they know what to look out for. And that, I believe, I don't want to speak on the behalf of my other commission members, I believe that would also help us feel more comfortable with that decision.
I thought that Mr. McAllister had it in the very last sentence.
Can I say something? You can also put in, and it's very common that it happens this way, is you can put it into the order of conditions, stating that the applicant or its representatives shall provide a draft order of conditions or deed restrictions, legal binding document throughout the project as it progresses. That's very common in the order of conditions. Having it drafted right now is not
No, absolutely.
practical.
I understand how it works and stuff. I just would like to see at some point,
Yeah.
you know,
And that can
some
be
kind
put-
of a framework of how it will work. It doesn't have to be today. That's not what I was getting at. Just
And it can be put in the order of conditions, that's what I'm trying to say, so.
These folks just did a subdivision in Linfield, and the Linfield Conservation Commission had a similar concern. But they understood, so they put it in the order of conditions, that we couldn't create a homeowners association until we got approval to build our homes. And even if you approve it, we still don't have approval, we have to go to the planning board. So I thought that McAllister did a decent job with respect to, we said, if you just took and changed some of the wording, in that next to last sentence, where he says, provided that the homeowners association proposal adequately addresses, so you could say that a part of the order of condition is that the homeowners proposal must adequately address and bind operations and maintenance activities sufficient and adequately to maintain in perpetuity the stormwater maintenance. Then it's a part of the order of conditions. And that, you know, the order of conditions is registered registry of deeds, then it's going to be, you can't get a certificate of compliance unless we can demonstrate to you that we somehow bound each homeowner. And the way that Gio is saying is that it's sort of like lawyers wear belt and suspenders, they don't want their pants to fall. We're going to put a deed restriction, so each homeowner, when they get it, knows that part of the obligation, when they got that title to that property, is they're bound by that condition. Then separate and distinct from that, there's going to be an agreement which likewise will get recorded and affect the title not only to their home, but all the other homes. So that's how you bind them all. So you have them both ways, individually and as a group. What he's saying is, once you determine what the amount is, then it's a question of collecting it. And I agree with you. That the better way is you do it right at the time of the closing, because it's like seed money. So you follow me? If you get it for the first time when somebody buys a home, out of what they're paying is that amount that gets dedicated to that source, then at least the first year's money already is there. And then what they then contribute over a period of time is to make sure that the next, like paying your home insurance. You know, that you buy a home, they say, okay, we want to see that you paid your insurance premium a year in advance. You haven't owned the house one day, but they want your insurance paid all the way to the end. That way they know there's continuously going to be insurance. So we need to do two things, really: draft the document, but more importantly, determine what the number is, what the cost will be to each homeowner.
So we have a motion on the table to close the public hearing. It was seconded. Is there any more discussion on it? Having no more discussion, I guess I'll do roll call on it because Mr. Toomey's going to abstain. Brenda?
I vote to close it.
Brenda, yes.
I also vote
Jocelyn,
to
yes. Paul, yes.
Yes.
Jeremy? Yes. Mr. Toomey?
Abstain.
Abstain. Motion passes. Public hearing is closed.
Did you guys hear that? Just wanted to make sure. We just voted. The public hearing is closed. It's closed. So it sounds like not all of you's heard it.
I was expecting the clicking of heels.
We're gonna see Jamie again at the planning.
I was waiting for applause from your section.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, we only voted to close the public hearing. We didn't
Order
vote
of conditions
to
was
approve,
voted
or there was no vote for the order of conditions.
Yeah, so we'll get the order.
Are we going to? Oh, we're gonna vote tonight? I don't know. I'm looking at the members. I thought they've already voted. They voted to
We
close the
voted to
public
close the
hearing.
public hearing.
So is there a draft order of conditions to?
Not yet.
All right. It's in your ballpark.
See you next month.
See you next month.
You'll draft order of conditions and vote on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Nano. The request for determination of, oh, I'm skipping North Shore Medical Center because he requested a continuance. I sent everyone,
I have the list of those who made it to the site visit for you, Jamie, before you close that.
thank you. So, we will take a motion to continue before we let that go.
I make a motion to continue.
Second.
I do have some discussion, though.
Sorry. Second.
I wanted to say that the reasons that I made a motion to continue is basically twofold. I don't know if he's a proponent, but old consultant for the Brigham's Medical Center. He wants to continue that fence, basically the privacy fence that they put up after the fact, that they gave us the completion. And it was a surprise to us at the site visit that fence was installed. It was explained to us that it was installed to prevent headlights from bothering the neighbors in the back, the abutters. He wants to continue that fence, and he made clear to us that that's what he wants to do.
He did.
And I just want to say that I have no problem with that fence being continued to protect those northern abutters, or those abutters that are affected by the headlights. Secondly, he also addressed the commission's concerns, and he answered them adequately. I think he answered yours adequately.
I was very responsive.
He answered mine very adequately, and he's in the 3 open action items that he has to address 3 of the concerns, mainly work to be done. He wants to do that work in addition to extending that fence, and then have us vote and have another site visit to check that we're happy with the fence and we're happy with the work he did to issue the certificate of compliance.
So are you
So-
saying that he doesn't want the July meeting, but possibly the August or September meeting? Depending on what the work is that they want to...
I think he's waiting for our position on the extending that fence. He's a little bit concerned. And I would recommend, if you all agree, that Jamie, you send an email reply to him saying that the commission is okay with extending the fence to address the abutters' concerns. And as long as it's the same style that is up there. And good to go on the fixes. We all agree on the fixes. There was one issue about a drain pipe inlet unprotected on the abutted, the adjacent property where I believe Dave Solomini is building some apartment buildings. Dave Solomini addressed that issue, so that's a non-issue right now. So I think everything's good to go. Remember that,
Did you see, yeah, but did you see any, I haven't seen anything about Dave Solomini addressing it.
I saw a picture of it. I actually took pictures of it.
I know you did, but what
No.
was, did we get anything from Dave?
No,
Solomini?
I talked to him myself. I took it upon myself to contact Dave when we had a site meeting with Oak Consulting, that Oak Consulting was going to call him. And I didn't want Dave to get blindsided, and I explained to Dave what the issue was, and he addressed it immediately with a silt sock.
Okay, but we have nothing,
We have nothing but pictures of the silt sock.
okay. My only comment would be about the fence. I have no problem with the fence, but I would like to be sure.
That's
That's okay. It was a little entertainment. The only thing I would say is my concern about the fence that he did, that they didn't put any tops or anything else, and they installed 30 poles and let all the stuff that they had dug up roll right down into the wetland. So they should either use, there should be some instruction that they either use a wheelbarrow or a top and make sure that any of the soil that they don't reuse gets taken away from the wetland, that's all.
Could you add that to the email? Would that be satisfactory?
That's fine.
Yep.
Good with the fence. Don't let the dirt roll down.
No dirt down the hill.
Wheelbarrow it out if need be.
The fence may not even be in this, I'm not even sure where the fence is going, so it may not even be well, it would be jurisdiction.
I think it is. I think it's coming out towards Linfield Street.
Field Street on that side.
I got it.
So I just want to, that's why I made the motion to continue. If he gets the email, he'll probably start work
Okay.
on both items, the three issues and the fence, probably immediately.
I'll email him tomorrow.
And we may be able to see it before July, but most likely, if they do it in June, July, we'll have a site visit and approve it in August, probably.
Okay.
Before they get a certificate of compliance, it's a requirement that we have someone at least visit the site. Doesn't necessarily have to be the entire commission, but someone visit the site and comment on.
Okay.
But one of my biggest concerns is exactly that they clean up all of that construction debris and all of that was in there. I think he may have indicated that he did that, but I'm not positive.
Well, having known all the issues, I'll volunteer to do that site survey when it comes down to it.
Okay. So we'll just continue it
Continue.
generally.
I don't know if we voted.
Second, or-
Oh, we
I
did.
immediately went into discussion.
Yay.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Nuno. GE, determination of applicability?
Yep.
So, just to recap, he filed with the DEP, per our instruction, yes.
And I also addressed some of the concerns that some of the commission members had raised in the original application.
So does anybody have any questions? Any concerns?
Has any of the investigatory activities taken place yet?
No. So, I guess the one thing I wanted to make clear, or at least see if I can get your permission for it. So the plan is to investigate, and if we find something simple like an obstruction, we're going to remove the obstruction from the outfall. If it requires structural repairs, then we'll file a notice of intent.
And did you touch upon your exploratory ideas last meeting where you would have a machine lift the rocks up from the shore?
Yeah, so just to brought
Mm-hmm.
visuals today that are bigger. So this is what the area looks like.
Yep.
Okay? These rocks are, they're all like plus 10 inches, plus 1 foot rocks. They're very large. They're actually, if we could have, we might have moved them by hand, but we couldn't do that. So we're going to have to get a backhoe out there with a thumb attachment, pick up these rocks, expose the end of the pipe so that then we can look up the pipe and see what the problem is. We suspect there's some kind of obstruction.
Mhm.
We're hoping the pipe's not crushed, but it could very well be.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then we'll have to propose a repair activity that's going to involve another.
But I would do, yeah, the remaining a night standing there. Okay, I will make a motion to approve, to issue rather, let me get that straight, to issue a negative determination indicating the site is jurisdictional, but the activities proposed for the investigatory or exploratory activities, that's the basis of the negative determination. Not anything further beyond the exploratory or investigatory activities will require the filing of a notice of intent. Is that in
Can
the
they
motion?
remove an obstruction?
I got it, yep. Anybody want
I second that motion.
That's part,
Okay.
that's part of, yeah, that would be part of the exploratory, right.
All right.
I agree.
All in favor?
That's the reason, I think, for the
Aye.
exploratory.
Okay, so I'll file online, but this is the case that, I would like to see this done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
You to say another
May or
word.
may
Good
not
luck.
see you in the future.
I hope it's just a
Yeah, right,
obstruction
right.
and you're not coming back.
Right.
Yeah. We'll see. Be back for the other outfalls. Take care.
Take care.
Aaron, I apologize for keeping you waiting. This is the city planner.
This is earlier than I expected.
I
That's
think,
good.
We're
That doesn't happen often.
We're pleasantly surprised. So I'll vamp a little bit while my colleagues are getting set up. I'm Aaron Clausen, the principal planner for the city. It's nice to meet you all finally. I apologize it's taken so long to do so, but I'm happy though that we get a chance to meet more formally. No problem. Meet more formally on a pretty exciting project for the city. And I'm going to provide you just some project background on how we got to the Berry Park Green Infrastructure Project. With me are staff from Weston and Sampson. Jenny Moonen is the project manager, and Haley Page is also working on this project for Weston and Sampson on behalf of the city.
So sorry, can I make a request? Do you mind setting up here? The light is bothering my eyes, actually. I'm going like
Backlighting is
this.
rough.
Good point.
really bad in here. I can never see a thing in here.
Yeah, I'm like,
Dim.
I think those windows don't help either.
Yeah. How about if I get out of the way?
Yeah.
That would be better.
yeah, if you, yeah, that's,
Jamie, I never said you were in the way.
yeah, you can stay there.
Ladies, what are your names again, please? Haley, okay. Jenny Noonan? Moonen, okay.
So some project background. The city, as you may know, back in 2018, proceeded through a planning process. It's the Community Resiliency Preparedness Process with the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. They run the program that's the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program. It's a process whereby communities kind of work through a workshop to identify the key vulnerabilities to the city from climate change, flooding, inland flooding, coastal flooding, heat island effect, that sort of thing, and then develop sort of an action plan, a streamlined action plan to address those issues. By doing so, the city gets access to the Action Grant Program through the MVP Preparedness Program to start carrying out implementation of those recommendations. In 2019, the city did receive an action grant that was carried out in 2020 to look at the Strawberry Brook watershed. This, as you probably know, covers almost a third of the geography of the city and is primarily underground at this point. It's all carried through the Strawberry Brook conduit.
There are some surface water areas, Sluice Pond, Flax Pond, Cedar Brook Pond, which are the remnants of the surface of the Strawberry Brook. And as you all know better than anybody else probably in this room, this watershed is a frequent flooder. We see it mostly on Boston Street, but there are areas up and down the watershed. And this watershed area was identified in that community workshop as a priority need. And so the Strawberry Brook Watershed Plan, which was funded through the Action Grant in 2020, did a hydrological study of the watershed, looking at current flooding, assessing infrastructure along the way, and then also kind of projecting out to, I think, 2030 and 2070, where the future conditions, looking at how the inland flooding might be exacerbated due to climate change. And within that action plan for the Strawberry Brook watershed, there were about 11 recommendations, and most of these recommendations really revolve around inserting green infrastructure into the watershed to help mitigate flooding and improve stormwater quality, among some of the other co-benefits that you can get from green infrastructure. And then, as an example, we have a project underway right now on Boston Street at the intersection of Boston and Mall, where we're implementing 2 bioswales designed by Weston & Sampson to help capture and carry and recharge through the groundwater stormwater.
What intersection, please?
It's Boston and Mall Street.
And okay, Mall.
Yeah, Mall.
Okay.
There's two bioswale locations right there. I think the interesting thing about that project, a little slight digression, it's not this project, but the thing that I'm excited about that project is it does include sort of the natural response of kind of capturing water and infiltrating through the ground, but also has underground storage capacity, which is sort of incrementally, in a big way, improved stormwater capture. And so I think it's going to be a great model for us moving forward. But the second piece of that grant for 2020 was to look at Berry Park and GEA Field as stormwater infrastructure unto itself, and that created the Berry Park GEA Field Stormwater Master Plan. And this is a real high-level concept to identify areas within the 2 parks for more kind of stormwater recharge, capture through either pervious pavers and parking lots, underground storage, but including also kind of smaller, kind of more tactical bioswales and rain gardens within and the edges of the park. So this stormwater plan sort of articulates how that plays out.
Where is this?
That's Berry Park. If maybe Jenny or Haley, you can kind of point out, that's Berry right there. Then you have the new Northern Strand Trail running through the center of the park right there. And then to the left is GEA Field with Summer Street on the other end.
So there's plans to improve the park beyond the parking lot?
This is a really high-level master plan. I wouldn't call them
it looks
plans.
like,
This just lays out a strategy to make improvements to the park. There are other plans. So, for instance, this isn't really a stormwater improvement, but the bleachers that everybody's familiar with.
Bleachers?
Yeah, those are going to come down. We did
Excellent.
receive a
That's a
grant.
big improvement, and if they make the soil under it pervious, that could be a great contributor to
Yeah.
Absolutely.
wetlands too.
That was envisioned as part of this master plan, was removing that as well. So but again, this is really kind of laying out a strategy, an overarching approach to thinking about the parks as a stormwater flood mitigation infrastructure. And one of the key elements of that was to look at the parking area at the northern end of Berry Park as a stormwater feature, including pervious pavement. We included in the design, although not articulated, I think originally in the plan, underground storage under the pervious parking area, and then inserting around it bioswales and rain gardens to provide further stormwater capture. So this planning process helped identify strategies we could take and move towards design. We received another grant through the MVP Action Program last year to actually fund the design and construction of that. So that's why we're here today, is to talk a little bit more about the parking lot project. It's about a $150,000 grant. Total project cost is around, I think at this point, around $230,000, but it depends a little bit on the sizing of the underground the underground storage area. So this project is funded, and our hope is to begin construction following your review and approval, likely next spring. So with that, that's the project background. That's how we got here. I'll pass it over to Jenny to talk a little bit more about the project details and get into it.
So we're planning to do forest paving parking lot here. Will be subsurface storage from the back of the parking lot. It's going to formalize 33 parking spots to a stabilization on a big dam accessible. It also includes improvements right at this intersection as well as the crosswalk, which is on Second Street. And there'll be a large rain garden sort of around this time. There's some more plans that will walk through, but really here's the sort of baseline outline. This is a 100-year flood zone for our borderland floodplain. We have here the Strawberry Brook conduit runs through the middle of the parking lot currently. And I spoke with Mass DEP circuit writer Alicia, and she came to the conclusion that bank would be considered the land directly adjacent from this culvert stream. So with that being said, the local bylaw had lands within 100 feet buffer be placed off of that bank. There's no riverfront area associated, so there is more than 200 linear feet of culverted stream in this one, maybe over 2 miles. So specifically, in our bordering land subject to flooding, so all of the flood zones here, there's a total of 15,713 square feet of impact proposed. 1,203 square feet will be temporary impacts, either temporary access, erosion controls, while construction takes place. So it will be due to temporary access, erosion control, in which under construction will be returned to pre-construction conditions. A total of 14,510 permanent impacts for the creation of the same infrastructure in the pervious parking area, the rain garden, fire scale, and the underground flood storage. That being said, there will be a total increase of 8,745 cubic feet of greater flood storage, which is underground storage, which will be just under and then 514 cubic feet will be due to finishing grade contours increased flood storage. As for bank impact, they are proposing to try and do 6-inch pipe. Yep, I can show. So what's going on is underground here, there's an umbrella system. There's going to be an overflow handle, and I don't know. I'm working with the chief in order.
I can show you where it is. Where the outflow of that meets the culvert. Right there, right where you're pointing. Yep. That's it, as a matter of fact. If you had your finger on it. Yep.
And then on the bioshelf, like this side is going to be all permeable, but it's sort of graded ever so gently to meet this swale and bioretention that has an overflow sort of like some of those.
Beehives. Yep.
And then it discharges to this side. And both of these have protection, which is on the detail sheet. So basically it drops into a manhole or inside it. For sediment.
I think it's on the very last sheet.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I like it.
502.
Can I ask a question at this point? Because I have a question about this. the overflow pipe from the bioswale there enters the culvert, which is almost a square, it's rectangular, but it's almost a square concrete culvert. That overflow pipe enters at the top of it, if you follow the elevation. The overflow pipe from what do you call 104 units that hold the water? You say that. I don't know if I could repeat that. But anyways, the overflow pipe from that system enters the culvert halfway up. And I was concerned to see that, in that if the culvert is more than half full, what's to prevent the culvert water from going backwards into that system?
502. Do you want to see it? Oh, do you?
Okay, then, no further questions on this? Not on this thing. I have other questions. I have other questions, but not, I'm good with this.
So with that being said, that'll be a total of 1 linear foot of permanent impact to banks, and then 11 linear feet of temporary impact just to access that in order for town and roads to get there. So those are all of the resource areas protected under the Wetlands Protection Act in which we're working within. The local bylaws, which we spoke bylaws and correct out to Lynn. We spoke to the separate land subject to flooding. We commented that we are to the standards in which we've spoken to for the performance standards. Yes, the land within 100 feet we're seeking a variance for, or as mentioned earlier, this bank is considered to be land within 100 feet, and this work is located within this.
It couldn't be any more within.
Right, exactly. It is a already altered area with park and the parking lot, which definitely fits that input, but we are seeking a variance that for we are significantly improving site conditions by creating a flood area, increasing water quality improvements, and as well downstream, and we think it's a net benefit overall. And include the wildlife, adding trees in to better increase habitat for small birds, and also the rain garden will also serve as a habitat for birds and small insects. There's also the tree rain garden at the intersection.
The people at home are probably because they can't hear, but it's either they can't see or, so I'm sure it'll be fine. Yeah, we're live right now. You gave a good overview.
Can I ask some questions? Some more questions? There's a couple of typos, no big deal, because they're easy to figure out. Where you reference the local bylaws, section XX1, section 21. One of the references is section 12, X11. Looks like a typo. We'll figure that out. It's no biggie. And the environmental receptors map, it looks like you had it in Appendix C, but now you have it on a plan drawing. So I looked to see, it's not there where you say it is, but it's actually in the plan. No, I see it on the plan drawing. So that's no biggie either. It's just a reference that wasn't applicable anymore. Okay? So it's in Appendix C? Oh. It just says figure 4. That's what threw me off. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you now. I'm good. I'm good. Next question. The test pit pictures. Test pits 1 and 2 had groundwater showing actually at the bottom of the test pit. Were you there for the test pit drilling? Okay. Just a kind of a why question. Test pits 4 and 5 have groundwater at certain levels, but yet the bottoms of those test pits are dry. Did you see seepage in the walls that I can't see in the picture? Okay, that's what I figured. That's what. There's a lot of clay. Okay. Okay. My last question is, the city of Lynn, DPW, is going to be charged with maintaining this system. They're not going to have a homeowners association. Although they probably would like it. But anyways, it's going to be on the city's charge. And I don't know what section I'm in, but it's the long-term pollution prevention plan. The operation will utilize liquid de-icer to treat the paved surfaces of the parking lot during snow and ice events to maintain function of the porous pavement surface. Does the city have liquid de-icers?
That would likely be contracted out. We've been working with Andy and his team in developing the plans and designs for this. So he's aware of the pollution prevention program. My sense from him is that much of the maintenance, because it also has the pervious pavement has to be
Has to be what?
vacuumed, essentially, to pull out fines from the kind of porous areas of the.
So that sounds like a special condition that does get addressed.
Yeah, I think that would be fine, is that the pollution prevention program be adopted as a part of the approval.
Because all I can see is loads of salt and loads of white residue.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't ensure it's done right. So yeah, that's.
They won't sand at all, right?
Yeah, they shouldn't sand or salt. They shouldn't do either.
We're gonna have to make sure that we all make that transition to a new system like this and treat it the way it should be treated. I don't think we're used to it yet. And just, yeah, I just want to say that this is fantastic. Your report is very well done. It was a pleasure reading it and going through it, and the design, I don't think it could be any better. So kudos to you on a good job, and I hope it takes off. Yeah. It looks like a dump right now. It is a dump right now. As a matter of fact, pop. When this is done, it's gonna pop. And it's gonna be nice.
If I may, just a shameless plug. So, if you really want to dig into the master plan, and there's a project page on it's the planning sort of project page. It's called linencommon.com.
Yeah, I'm on that.
Have you gone?
Is that master plan on there?
It is, yeah.
I'll
So
check it out.
there's I think it's the Municipal Vulnerability Program page. It's a subset of that. The master plan's on that. The Strawberry Brook Watershed study that sort of kicked this all off is on that. These plans should be there as well. The other thing that we'll be working, and I'd be happy to come back sort of as a sort of informal agenda item, we will be kicking off work with Weston and Sampson to look at GEAA Field.
For what?
GEAA Field.
Yeah, GE, trivia question. What does AAA stand for?
It's Athletic Association, right? General Electric Athletic.
Employees Athletic Association.
Ah, I got it wrong. Oh, that was close.
Very good, it is.
Yeah, so the whole concept now is to take this master plan from essentially the northern strand towards Summer Street and kind of get a more detailed plan to look at underground storage, look at more kind of rain garden bioswale. And I've just contracted with Weston and Sampson today, and we'll be getting that work this summer, and would be happy to come
excellent,
back at a later date and sort of review some of the preliminary work that we do. Because I'm also really excited about that, because it's a larger scale of what we're looking at for the parking lot. And part of the reason we did sort of a smaller project was to pilot the whole concept. And to your point, how do we shift our maintenance approach to this infrastructure, because it's very different than sort of gray traditional infrastructure.
Yeah.
So that'll be an exciting project that we'd love to come back
And that, I walked the site, I think it was Sunday morning. That community pathway, the thick orange line going through the center, that is real nice. That is nice. And it has access down into the Little League field, and it has access down to the GE employees field. So this is all gonna be great. It's gonna be huge when it's all done.
It's exciting.
The best spot on that trail is located, that whole trail that goes all the way to Everett. Best spot on that whole trail is located in Lynn, on the overlook of the Saugus River.
Yeah.
At dawn, it's amazing, and the wildlife that's there is amazing.
Down by the old Quimby's Cafe, whatever restaurant that is now.
It was Spud's for a while, but it was Heck Allen's.
Spud's,
and that
Heck
was
Allen's.
Heck Allen's.
And by the way,
Clams in the North Shore.
the folks that were here earlier that tried to make their place better at 50 Southside, that's off of that.
Well, that's
the
you
same
know, and
trail.
they have a legitimate
They do.
concern about
They
the
do.
maintenance of that trail, that
They
they
do.
shouldn't have to put up with all the trash if there is
Well,
trash coming from there.
I walk my dog here, and I can say firsthand that definitely that area where you guys are addressing floods big time whenever it rains, so I'm very excited.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the NOI filing. I know of one special condition, order of condition. Other than that, it'll
I
be
have
standard.
one point beforehand, and I have to admit that I may have missed it. You were talking about a variance from the bylaw. What was the variance for?
So the land within 100 feet of the bank is the resource area. So we will be working within land within 100 feet of that resource area.
Okay, so they're referring to that as a bank, so I would recommend, and we can incorporate it into the order of conditions, that you request a waiver of that 100-foot under the bylaw and the 25-foot no disturb zone. Right, under the bylaw, so.
So that's three special.
Well, that wouldn't really be a special condition. We can take a vote to approve that now if the commission wishes, grant, with the stipulation that they, as we have done before, that they put the request in writing.
You can just do that.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And that, we don't have to make a special condition or anything, we just await, just on the approval pending the receipt of the requests.
Yeah, and even with that, Mike, I still would like to make a motion to approve the NOI filing.
Do we have a second?
I can second it.
And the special order condition I was referring to was the treatment of that surface
Right.
when it's icy and snow.
I would add that to the motion, that the parking lot maintenance to be consistent with the, what was that plan? Was it in the stormwater report? Okay. I thought you used a
The
P something.
liquid
that's not-
de-icer and the vacuuming, what have you.
Yeah, whatever's in that. Because the sand especially can be really damaging
So
to,
I believe it's,
porous pavement.
Jamie, I know you're looking for
Right,
a reference.
that was the thing.
I can find it there.
No, I got it right here. I'm following my sticky back trail. It's attachment E, long-term pollution prevention plan. Attachment E. Sounds good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, ladies.
Going to pass this
Yep.
around for your-
Good luck with future stuff. I hope to see you again. I hope so. You're welcome.
Harry Potter, the site of Gideon's fight. Man, I played against some good baseball.
A lot going on. I know. Thank you.
3 guys I played high school baseball with signed to the major leagues.
Oh, do they want this back? Or is this our copy?
One
Okay.
made it, Tony C.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Bill, well, actually,
I didn't want to print this at home. 'cause
Billy
It was
was
like, no, it's, I mean, I'll keep it. Do you want this back? If you don't want it, I'll take it. Okay, good. I will take it.
Can we spend 2 minutes on new business?
Oh, we sure can.
I do have,
Jeremy, can we spend 2 minutes on your business?
2 minutes.
Jeremy's here.
Couple things. I was wondering what you might think of the commission members getting like a windbreaker jacket, a thin nylon jacket that actually says Lynn Conservation Commission on the back of it in block letters, so that we could wear that jacket to site surveys and people know who we are. In addition to that, because I intend to go to the construction sites, I'm wondering if we could also get like a white construction hat, hard hat, with the City of Lynn logo on it and and Lynn Conservation Commission on the hard hat whenever we have to visit a site where hard hats are required.
I have a modification. Instead of windbreakers, would you be okay with a safety vest? That might be a little bit easier
Or you
for
could
like,
just do, you could do a high vis,
Best.
breaker or something.
Does anybody want to pick these out and send them to me? 'Cause
I was just gonna say a fashion, but I'm not.
Let me, I know a couple of places that I used to go to for Babe Ruth and Pop Warner. Harrington Trophies and Nico over in Peabody. Let me poke around and I'll,
If, for the high
And
vis,
some options.
fit that
I
in
don't
there.
know.
for the high vis, if you're
Yeah.
actually
You know, the
But
real,
trying to do it, try to get it,
I
with a
would never
reflector
want
on
to
it.
put that anybody else.
me neither.
So, I think that's all I have.
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
Yep.
I don't know what colors you would like. That's
I was,
Why?
before I'd like the safety idea. Maybe we can get a high-vis windbreaker.
Yeah,
And
if you're
combine
going on,
them.
if you're talking about construction sites, it should, be like lime yellow,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that color, and it should have a reflectors on it.
Like the neon,
Yep.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Take it from somebody that just spent 3 months on a construction site.
And where, do you know where that comes from? Is Simon still in business on the Limway? I don't even know.
I don't know if
that?
Simon
There's like so many.
Yes, they're still on there.
Are they?
Yeah.
They
What'd you
would
say?
probably be a place you
There's
could
so
get
many
stuff like
online
that, I would
places
think.
too, right? But would you like to see it? Maybe you'd like to see it in,
preferably something in Lynn.
my husband
Support
has
local.
a dress shirts and nobody keeps them anymore. You have to buy everything online.
What does he want?
Dress shirts.
Dress shirts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dress shirts, and they don't have them.
You should should have told me. I just threw out about a dozen.
I just got one on
Hardly
clearance.
one.
It's my only one.
Because I never wear them anymore. I still have a stack of ties that, holy mackerel.
And what,
I had to wear 'em.
I'm concerned that Mary is missing for a couple, 3 meetings now. Is Mary okay with this?
Mary's son had a lot of activities at the end of the year,
Oh, family stuff?
so,
Okay. We'll see.
I don't want to hold people up, but I have a couple of things on the old business that I just would like to bring up.
Sure.
54 Bow Ridge Road, did we send an enforcement order? Do we know anything? I mean, he definitely
I'm working it.
filled. You are, all right.
I was down in the basement today with Jamie,
Where are you?
the basement of this
Oh,
building.
looking for the
And I
Bow Ridge
have,
plans?
you think this is high, I have files twice as high on Bow Ridge Development.
You're
I
talking
have-
to
I
the
haven't-
wrong person.
I haven't,
still
is
have
that,
the
what-
file
is that your dining room table?
Oh, so you still have it? We got the subdivision plan. Oh, so the note in the minutes for one of the conservation commission says that the plans were missing.
That doesn't surprise me.
My initial,
Well-
go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, and this is aside from that, this is for the benefit of the commission, and we're not, are we on?
We are, yes.
Then I'd keep my mouth shut. On Bow Ridge, there definitely has been filling there. You know, I was out twice to the site. What we're going to do, again, is another issue. And Elsie Road, again, is still hanging over.
I mean, it kind of got left because he assaulted somebody.
Right,
Went
yeah,
out there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
nobody ever did anything after
Right,
that.
that's
'cause
what I'm
they didn't
saying,
want us
but
out
it's
there.
still one of those one, and caps, for all the new members, these caps, I think 2 years has gone by.
So you saw what Cap filed, right? I sent you the file.
Yeah, but that's nothing to do with the Conservation
Right,
Commission.
I
That's,
know.
you know, they haven't filed with us, and they got piles of dirt, rock, they got trash that they collect in there, nothing covered, nothing with erosion control.
So do we want to issue another enforcement order for them, or?
I think we have to. They also have, they committed to us that they were going to come back with a hired consultant.
They did, and I got a bill for that, and I forwarded along to Nyland, and he said he's gonna take care of it.
Where's the report?
No, they never issued it. The bill was for,
We paid for it.
The purpose was for them to do a report for us.
yes, but I don't think that they ever went through with the whole,
No, they just started doing the work on the site again.
but I mean, I don't think they went through with the work for the peer review. So I think he closed his file and just sent them a bill for his time,
Oh, yeah.
because they never followed through.
So we need to start that over again?
I think so. We need to issue an enforcement order
Well-
under both the bylaw. Do you know, Jamie, I don't know the answer to this, but if someone's running a contractor's yard, don't they need special permits from the city? That's what they're doing. I mean,
I'm pretty sure you do.
What are they packing down there? Are they
they're
packing
parking
goods
construction,
vehicles?
all kinds of construction equipment. They have piles and, they have piles as high as this ceiling here of rock and earth and,
So I'll send, the zoning enforcement, officer there too.
and
I'll
for
do
the benefit of the new members, that the enforcement order that we issued at least 4 or 5 years ago was for the parking area for the MBTA now. And I have to say, the man kind of improved the site. It was a mess when it was caps. But they did all kinds of work, including filling and everything else, without filing before the Conservation Commission. And that area is an area of critical environmental concern, Rumney Marsh. It's one of like 28 in the state, and they've done nothing about filing, about complying with anything. And then they just left.
Well, yeah, it's the same as Elsie.
And then they did more work, much more
Same as
work.
Elsie Road.
It's what?
It's the same as Elsie. I mean, we
Exactly.
We issued, what, 3, 4 enforcement orders
Yep.
to that guy?
Yep.
And we were finally kind of getting somewhere, and I guess punch out your neighbor, and you
Right.
don't come before us.
And then I sent another one,
Yeah.
and then he went to the mayor's office and said I was harassing him.
I have a question. Does an enforcement order come with a fine?
Oh,
That's the next procedure that we need to get better at. I would be the
Because I was
first
gonna
one to
say,
say, as long as
I
I've
wanna
been
start-
on
Three
here.
or four,
I wanna
let's
start
fine
with
them.
that guy.
I would start with Elsie Road is right,
Yeah.
Jeremy, that, you know.
And I think we can go back to the first
We
one.
can go back
We
to the
can-
first
I mean,
day.
like $300
Yeah.
a day
A day.
from when we
Yep.
filed the third one.
I issued fines for, this was over $1,000 for every order that we issued. I gave him $300.
I think we can do $300 per
It's
day.
per day, it's
Yeah.
per day.
Right.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, he went to the mayor's office and said that, I was harassing him, and so I.
To this new mayor, or was it, okay.
I mean, I couldn't
Let's,
tell you, Jeremy went out to
let's-
the site
let's
at
give him
least a
another
couple
one
of
for
times.
every
I
single
went
day
out to
since
the
the
site
first
at
one
least a
came
couple
out.
of times. Mary went out to the site, I know, at least once.
I went out and had words with him.
I went to the door and I knew there was somebody home, because there were 2 cars parked on the driveway, nobody answered.
I told him he needed to come before us, and, you know, and we could work it out. I said,
Right.
this was before fines were issued, and I said, look, fines haven't been issued, but you need to come and work this out, otherwise we are going to start fining you. And,
You know, if these things continue unchecked and we're not responding, people are just gonna ignore us.
Right.
so, yeah, I'd like to find out how we can move forward.
I'll work on that.
Thank you.
Could you guys, including you three, send just the latest file you have on this site, just so we can get acclimated to it? You say
I think
Elsie
that would
Road,
have
I
to
don't
come
even,
through
Jamie.
Jamie, I hate to say
For
it.
Elsie Road, it's
you'd
really
have to
just
make-
gonna be enforcement orders.
Yeah,
I got
Elsie
a
Road,
stack of enforcement orders. I'll send
Because he
If-
hasn't
if-
done anything else.
and it has the address on it?
those. Yep,
Paul, if
I would not go out there.
no.
No.
He assaulted his neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Over the issues, and we were advised not to go there.
Who advised us?
I believe Attorney Lavana.
Yeah. But I think I have a couple of documents relating to Elsie Road that show the area that's been filled in that, but I will look.
Yeah, stuff like that,
Yeah.
just so we can get acclimated to it.
Anything I have, I'll look through, anything I have, I will forward to you, or we'll
Yep.
exchange anything.
Yeah, you can, if you want, you can bring it here, I can scan it and send it out. You can't do
I'm not sure what I have, but I will look.
And I wanted to, speaking of that fill-in, I wanted to say, I have a preliminary finding on Bull Ridge with Jamie's help. It looks like the way it was constructed was further back into away from the original house. And it was documented as, in the as-built conditions, and the as-built conditions were approved by the Conservation Commission.
Right, so if I understand what you're saying, that there's been extended filling beyond that point.
Well, if there is, I don't know about that, but the initial finding I found today was that the original building of the house was like 9 or 14 feet back from the way it was agreed to.
Oh.
It was
I
as-built.
get you now, so now we're.
As
talking
built, it was
beyond
further
that,
back,
yeah.
and it was approved.
And there
So
was,
if,
there was a certificate of compliance in there.
yeah. So if
So
that's,
some engineer testified before us that it was built according to the original plans, and apparently it wasn't.
Well, the
Well-
as-built plan shows it as.
it was interesting, I think it was the minutes mentioned, a commission member saw the plans before they disappeared, and he vouched for them, so that the commission approved based on the fellow commission member vouchering.
I read that.
And guess who abstained from the vote?
Not me, I wasn't, oh, I did abstain? Jeez.
So I kind
Good
of,
thing I
I
abstained.
kind of smile and I says, whoops, looks like Mike didn't like this one.
Well, it wasn't even that. I, along with the neighborhood group,
Yeah.
I was part of an adjudicatory hearing involving pounds of water, and it had a sump. Now, this is the part the engineer here will really appreciate. It had a sump 20 feet deep that was gonna be filled with water all the time. And I was like, there was no outlet pipe.
But they were gonna blast it in
They
there.
were gonna blast it in there.
Right,
And
because that wasn't
I
gonna
was like,
cause fractures that were gonna.
what? We had 3 engineers in the neighborhood that all joined the group that said, this is crazy. And it was.
How long ago was this?
I can't wait to read this.
1980? Was it somewhere around there? Around 1980.
So more to follow. If I find more, I definitely will keep everyone posted. But it's gonna take time, though.
Just so you know, that's how I got most of the knowledge that I have. Not that there's a lot, but most of the knowledge that I have came from participating in those 2 adjudicatory hearings.
Well, it sounds like that development and developments like that puts Lynzilla Lane to shame. You know, I think that Lynzilla Lane is complex. I can imagine this Bow Ridge, the village at Bow Ridge.
Well, I'll leave it with this, that when they came in to do Bow Ridge, they had an engineer and a wetlands consultant. And the wetland consultant had one wetland on the site that was considered according to him, was an isolated land subject to flooding. That was it. When we finished the compromise on that, they had identified 7 wetlands on the site.
There's only one.
And one of the neighbors commented, when you come out for the site visit, make sure you wear your hip boots. Wow. But I have to say that the participation from the engineers and the neighbors got the project 1,000% better than it was. I mean, first thing, we eliminated that detention facility, whatever you want to call it.
All right, good.
Time bomb.
I don't think I could have slept in a rainstorm for the rest of my life, you know?
Good discussion and good conversation. It's coming up on 8:30, so I want to make a motion to adjourn.
That second motion.
I want to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.
How do we shut this off?
draft process to keep it in line with expected revenue. So that's the story on the city side. As you know, the city's the school department's budget works differently, is financed differently as a result of the way that works. Under the Student Opportunity Act, the Lynn Public Schools has been provided with really much needed resources that I think are really important to the education of the students of Lynn, and so you'll see that in the budget, the school department's funding going up. And as a result, you'll see a significant number of hires on the school side, and that's just a different situation with the city. The good news on the school operating budget still, however, doesn't address one of the major issues in the education that we have in the city of Lynn, which is the problems of limitations of school space. And so that continues to be a priority. We do make progress in this city budget by setting aside funds that we are going to need so that we are on track to build the new Pickering, working with the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The budget also funds a review of capital needs for the elementary schools, which hasn't been done in 3 decades, and is really important that we're being proactive about the next issues that we have for school buildings. And as funds become available in the future for us to make those investments, we'll have an understanding of where we want to go and what we want to do in that area on the elementary schools. You'll also notice that because of this fiscal discipline and in spending, there's not a lot of new programs that we are announcing and committing to, because we want to make sure that everything we're doing is sustainable. However, we are able to continue investments in programs that we think are really important to the city that have started, one of which is our new senior center, which many of you I know have had the chance to get down and participate in. And another new initiative that we are continuing to fund that I think is important to the city is our work on an unarmed crisis response team. So although we do have those challenges that I talked about on the operating revenue, I think we still have a very positive outlook. The broader economic picture for the city, I think, is really positive. We have some great development momentum, obviously the trends in valuation, and I think we are really committed to taking the proactive steps to continue to support that. So the basic thing that we're doing there that you all are aware of is the work that we're doing through Vision Lynn to establish the city's first comprehensive plan. That's going to be a key to provide direction to the kind of growth that we're pursuing that will ultimately lead to more flexibility on our operating budget. And we're particularly committed to pursuing commercial and industrial growth. And I think there's a really tremendous opportunity that we are pursuing in the life science sector. You all took steps to help us improve our readiness for life science attraction, and we actually just recently received the news that we're going to be upgraded to a platinum status for readiness for life science development from the industry group that provides those ratings. So as we continue to pursue that growth and build our own financial abilities, I think an overarching goal that we have for our administration is to make sure that growth is inclusive. And I think for us and where we are in this community, that means being particularly attuned to the cost of living. And I think you all have seen that work come to fruition as we've gotten started, particularly the work that we did in conjunction with the City Council to give seniors more help with their property tax relief, as well as to start to implement recommendations from the Housing Lynn plan. So again, I'd like to thank my whole team, the entire city team, the development of the budget. Council President Walsh has been very helpful, and Councilor LaPierre as chair of the Ways and Means, our CFO and the department heads, and my team is in the mayor's office, and look forward to working with you all in fiscal year 2023. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. I'd like to invite up Sean Cronin. He's the Fiscal Stability Officer. He has no cast on his arm since the last time we saw him.
The knee might be next, but that's a different.
All right, thank you.
So I believe there's a presentation. I don't know how you want me to, do you want me to go there? Do you, the PowerPoint?
You can come on up here if you want to work the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, it's queued up.
You have to have
I agree.
Was it, you know if it was put on here by chance, or? All right, good thing I brought this. Crooked, but it's fine. All right. So let me just start off by basically agreeing with everything that the mayor said. You know, the city's taken a lot of steps over the last few years to get to where you're at today, which is a heck of a lot better place than where you were back in 2018, 2019. I want to talk a little bit bigger picture about how kind of all these things hang together. The operating budget, capital budget, looking out over a multi-year period, all of which is in the budget. So this is the first year, before you saying that, in the budget here by the mayor, that those three things are there.
Mr. Cronin, can you please use the microphone because a lot of people could not hear?
Absolutely. How's that? How about I sit? There we go. Now I feel like a counselor, which I will never be in my life. I promise you that. So a lot of really good things that have happened. I just want to talk big picture about how these primary tools hang together. And again, congratulate the mayor and his team for having a budget that includes a forecast, that has a capital plan, and is balanced. But before I do that, I do want to get into some of the details. So it is a $448 million budget, pretty good-sized business you operate. And you can see where the revenues come from. About 60% of the budget actually comes from the Commonwealth, most of which is Chapter 70 for schools. And then the other large share, about a third, is property taxes, which is obviously capped by Prop 2.5. And then in terms of where the money goes, I should stress here that this is just the line item. I can guarantee you your schools are more than 46.5% of the overall budget pie. It's probably 60+% when you add in all the ISD stuff, all the benefits and everything else. This is just the line item allocation in the budget. So no surprise, like every municipality, schools, public safety, your two biggest pieces in terms of departments. In terms of the increases, as the mayor said, Student Opportunity Act was basically constructed for communities like Lynn. So there's a huge increase in Chapter 70 spending, Chapter 70 revenue for the city. A couple of other bullets there. You are assuming the maximum allowable increase in property taxes. You can grow your levy by 2.5% plus something called new growth, which is what the mayor was referring to when he said all the positive development that might be happening. That means long-term growth above and beyond Prop 2.5 in your levy. So you're assuming going to the max in your levy. The only use of one-time revenue is free cash, but that's for one-time purposes, which is great. You're using it for some pay-as-you-go capital. And then also for the first time since this body took a vote to create an enterprise fund after some back and forth with the CFO and city solicitor's office, you now have an enterprise fund to account for your golf course. It's the way it should be done. That's the way I think I can say all municipal golf courses are accounted for. And then since you have that, you reimburse the general fund for debt service, which is paid for in the general fund. So if you're wondering what that other $200,000 is coming back into the general fund, it's for debt service being paid for by the golf course. And then where are the growth and expenditures? So the first one, I call it non-appropriated. It's because you don't have a say in it. It's not an appropriation item. Those are things like cherry sheet assessments, charter school being the biggest piece of that. The overlay, which is under the control of the Board of Assessors, it's about $2 million here. MBTA, another cherry sheet assessment. So it's obviously part of your budget, but you kind of have no say over it. So therefore, term it non-appropriate. I'm going to skip the cash, capital, and debt service because I want to talk about capital a little bit later. Employee benefits, you see the increase of $1.9 million. Over $2 million, there's over $2 million increase in your pension schedule. Get used to that. That will continue unless something great happens in your pension funding schedule. But under your current schedule, it grows by that increase, percent increase every single year. Health insurance looks like it's going down. But that's because some money is going to be transferred to meet net school spending, which I'm going to come back to and talk about net school spending a little bit. 1% increase in premiums, so the city picks up its share of it in that line item. And the only other thing I'll highlight here is you see the large increase in inspectional services, $4.4 million. I believe most of that is for net school spending eligible small capital projects in schools. So while it's in the city side of the budget, it's going toward the schools. So in terms of big picture breakdown on the budget, I say this every year and wherever I go to talk about this stuff. Local government is a service industry. It takes people to do it, police officers, firefighters, teachers, DPW employees, librarians, everybody. So you should expect to see more than 75% of your budget be wages and salaries, and that's exactly what you see here. So 28% is what's left, right? But just looking at the budgets, the benefits for a second, more than half of the employee budgets for health insurance. I know I was here a few years ago talking about ways to save money. It's still on the table. Somebody could chuckle, but there's a lot of money to be saved in health insurance. I know it's no matter what community it is, it's a touchy subject. But if things are tough over the next few years, health insurance is a place. Every community goes to look every couple of years when their contracts are up to look at ways to not just shift costs to employees, but to step back and see if there's a way that you can overall save money. And there are approaches to do that. Pensions, I already mentioned. Kind of not much you can do in the short term on that, but just remember, every COLA you give employees, that gets factored into your pension schedule. Your actuary or the retirement board's actuary makes assumptions for COLAs. If you go above that assumption, then it worsens the unfunded liability position of the pension. So, you know, two huge budget items. One is 46 million, one is 36 million, but you really can't tear it apart like you can a police budget or a DPW budget or something like that. It kind of is what it is based upon your current situation. So then where's everything else left? You got 27% of your budget left. And just to highlight the city side, so $40 million, non-people, out of $400 million in the city side of the budget, you have $40 million that is, you know, at your discretion. And 18 million of that is the service contracts, et cetera, in your ISD budget for the schools. So $18 million in the 40 million, but that's really all for schools. So what else is left? ISD for the city, about $4 million, and sanitation budget's about $8 million. Sanitation, I know the mayor mentioned, that's another thing that you should look at as frequently as possible. There's ways to save money, as we're all residents somewhere, right? I know in my town, when they made changes, I didn't like it, but you know what? You get used to it. It works, saves money. It's better for the environment, all that type of stuff. So I'm sure your DPW commissioners and others have looked into that, but it's definitely something you should pay attention to, because you can save some money long-term in that. So some other things I want to highlight. The reserves, the reason why reserves are going down primarily is you're already fully funded that supplemental reserve. So the special act that allowed you to deficit finance required you to set aside 1% of your prior year budget into a supplemental reserve. It grew over a period of time from 1/4% to 0.5% up to 1%. Well, you're at the 1% level, so that now flattens off. So that kind of looks like it's why you're reducing your reserves. I'm going to come back to the stabilization, school construction stabilization fund, because that to me is really the most important thing of anything I'm going to say tonight. You continue to pay down your deficit financing notes. That's about $1.4 million. You do have $1.3 million in the budget for CBAs, which is good. It's not rare when a community might not budget for collective bargaining agreements, even though they've been approved, and you know, kind of put themselves in a really bad situation. So the fact that it's in the budget is great. School budget increase is estimated to meet net school spending requirements. So I do want to suggest here that this is something that the city should start to spend more time looking at. You have a CFO who does it on a day-to-day basis, but this is a big issue. You've got a lot of money coming in. Forget the ESSA funds, you know, the federal ESSA funds, and well, don't forget it, but that's outside of this conversation. You've got a lot of Chapter 70 money coming in. You didn't meet your net school spending requirements last year. You're on a path right now to not meet net school spending requirements. One of the driving factors in your $14 million deficit a few years ago was not meeting net school spending. So this is something you need to stay on top of. You know, you as a council, if I were sitting in your chair, I would be asking occasionally, where are we with net school spending? You know, not just during a budget process, but during the course of a year. I know the CFO will be before you at a future meeting, moving another $1.9 million from health insurance to either the school budget or the stabilization fund that you just created, in order to basically pay next year for what should have been spent this year. So with all that money going into the school system, you got to make sure that it's being spent, or the penalties associated with not meeting net school spending requirements will catch up to you really, really fast. Couple of other things I'm going to highlight it. The $400,000 increase in overtime for fire department. I've written twice, I think, suggesting for a review of the overall budget and staffing of the fire department. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's a large department. It's a critical department for any municipality. It's not a bad thing to step back and take a fresh look at how you budget and/or staff one of your major departments in your community. Cash capital. It's a decrease of about $800,000, and how I got there was you spent about, or you budgeted about $2 million in cash capital in the current fiscal year. In the budget, there's $868, but I added to that the $750,000 for the new school construction fund, because that's cash that will be going to future capital. And then lastly, while it's not in the budget anywhere, I know the mayor referenced it, you're spending $4.2 million of ARPA funds for pay-as-you-go capital, which is a great use of capital, and I would echo use as much of that money you can for capital. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make infrastructure investments that you might otherwise not be able to. So the capital plan. I just reformatted something that was in the budget document, summarized it a little bit differently. But basically, you have an $80 million plan over a 5 or 6 year period, which probably is too low. I'm sure there were other things that were requested and not in there. And more than half of the funding comes from general obligation bonds, which you'd be paying back over many years, most of which is for the Pickering School, which is really what I want to highlight. So, debt service, exclusive, forget the deficit financing notes. Yes, it's debt, but not for capital. It's declining, it's increasing about $600,000 because of the bonds that were sold a few weeks ago. And again, congratulations on the bond rating upgrade. It's a great example of all the good things that have been done and the recognition that the rating agencies have for that. So your debt services budget is growing. But I really want to talk about this school construction stabilization fund. It is a great idea for two obvious purposes. One, you're basically putting money aside that you could use to pay in cash for the school, so you reduce the amount of borrowing you need, which reduces the amount of interest you pay on the bonds, right? Pretty simple. The second thing, probably more important, is you build budget capacity. And what I mean by that is you're not just throwing one-time revenue into this fund. This isn't a proposal that says, oh, take 10% of free cash and put it away, What the mayor and the CFO are putting in here is they're saying, okay, let's start, basically create a line item and fund it, and each year grow it. And then once the deficit finance notes are paid off, add that to the appropriation, you get up to $2.7 million, which is in your base budget to start paying for the principal and interest on the bonds when you float them for the Pickering School. The timing might not be perfect, it might be 1 or 2 years off, but you have that budget capacity. That's what you need. And I know last year and the year before, and in my role on the MSBA board, I've said my concern is how is the city going to pay for the Pickering School project? I know I said that exact same thing last year. Here's your plan. So, kudos to the mayor and the CFO for putting together something like this. We had talked about a similar idea a couple years ago. It didn't go anywhere at the time, but it's great to see something like this. So I strongly recommend that, if you haven't taken votes yet, I don't know where you're actually at in the budget process, but this is something you should do. You should put the money in there, not just this year, but you got to have that budget discipline to keep this plan over a 3 or 4 year period. And obviously take a vote to set up the stabilization fund, which requires a 2/3 vote of this body. So it's a really, really good plan. I'm focusing just on the Pickering School. There are other components of the capital plan. I'm not, just like the operating budget, I'm not in the business of telling you if you're putting too much in this department or too much there. It's big picture stuff for me. You just need a capital plan that you update regularly, and you got a sound financial plan behind it. So again, kudos to folks who were involved in putting that together. And then the last thing, I guess kind of end on a sour note, but, well, first, positive. There's a long-range financial forecast in the budget. This is one of the tools that I've been talking about for the last couple of years. You're a $500 million, $500 million business. You should be looking at the ramifications of every decision you make, positive or negative. A forecast is the tool that allows you to do it. It's actually really easy to put together in Massachusetts. All you need is Excel and know how to say last year's property tax levy times 2.5%, assume new growth, and you've got one of your largest revenue sources projected over multi-years. Then you look at your business, which we already talked about. What is it? People. Okay. What's health insurance growing? Projected. You know what your pension schedule is already. Every 2 years it gets updated. And what's your estimate for COLAs? What can we afford, what can you afford as a community for annual CBAs? It's this tool that allows you to do that. So in here you've got CBAs modeled, you've got the debt service kicking in for Pickering School modeled. But what does it show you? It shows you what pretty much every forecast I've ever seen in Massachusetts shows you. You have a problem in the out years, a couple years down the road, and it's inherent in the way municipal finance works in Massachusetts. Unless you have a huge amount of new growth, think Somerville, Assembly Row, like game changer for the city of Somerville. If you have that type of development in the city, all these numbers get better. A lot of your red goes away, right? But the really important thing here is that now you see what it looks like. Yes, it's a forecast, and there's assumptions, and we can all maybe debate the assumptions here or there, but it's showing you that you've got a challenge in the out years, and that's exactly why this is put together. So it shows you got net school spending requirements you need to meet. Even though you're getting a lot of Chapter 70 money, you need to match a piece of that to meet your net school spending requirements. You know, how do we do that and meet our CBAs, employee benefits, and school capital? So just a probably oversimplification of this, but when I was doing this in my previous life, I would say, here's the walk-away slide, you know, forget the 50 spreadsheets we just went through, take this with you and go away with it. So this is a really simple summary, on average of the 5 years, where your expenditures are going and where your revenue's coming from. And I kicked out Chapter 70 because it just distorts everything, because the numbers are just so large. So on average, the city needs to come up with about $2 million for net school spending, about $2 million for pensions, depending upon the premium increases, about $1 million for health insurance, and depending upon what you give at the table, about $1.5 million for city-side CBAs. Go to the revenue side, about $6 million in property taxes, which assumes, I want to say, $1.8 million of new growth, somewhere in that ballpark. Local receipts, didn't really talk about that. Those are non-taxes that you have some control over, but not a lot. That goes with the economy, right? Unless your building permits could go through the roof if you have a lot of economic activity. And then $750 other is the unrestricted general government aid, state aid, right? So if you add those up quickly, or if you easier, look at the picture, the expenses are higher than the revenues, right? And that's the way it is. So things look great, as the mayor said, and I did not speak to the mayor before this presentation, so it's really great that we've kind of seen things the same way here. In short-term stability, you've got some challenges over the longer term. If there's some development in the city, that fixes this. If there's some improvements on the expenditure side, that improves this. But you have a tool at your disposal. The CFO and the mayor can update this thing anytime with all different assumptions in there, and it spits out different views for you to look at. And then just the last thing, enterprise and revolving funds. I've spent a fair amount of time via email with the CFO and your solicitor's office going through all the different funds, types of funds you have. Municipal finance is governed by statute, right? Like everything in life, there's laws that we got to follow. And it's kind of, to a certain extent, it's overly complicated. Like a fund for this, a fund for this, a fund for that. They're all different types of funds. They got different rules. You know, we spent some time making sure that these are established the right way. So the golf course enterprise fund, you need to vote that annually. Just think of it as another budget, another departmental budget. You take a vote, and you're all set. And the revolving fund ceilings, I forget how many revolving funds you have. These are not, so tonight I know somebody asked a question about a grant fund. That's not this. I think you accepted money for a senior center, meals. That's not this. Those are different. A revolving fund is money in, money out for programs and things like that. And you've established a couple. Each year you need to take a vote on what's the maximum your department head who's responsible for that can spend. So please make sure when the budget vote's taken that these things are accounted for. So I'll close where I opened. A lot of positive things going on in the city. So, you know, congrats to everybody who's been involved in it. And the approach to plan to fund the Pickering School is a really solid one. Don't get married to the numbers that you're hearing about the Pickering School. Those numbers are going to change. We're in a crazy hyperinflationary environment. It's still a couple years out. The reimbursement rate, you know, there's caps on everything. So whatever numbers you have in front of you, take that as a very good ballpark. But those numbers will modify over time as the committee gets further along in the process. But it's a really good approach to start to plan for what is a very significant, obviously a very significant project for the city. So I'll stop there. I don't know if you have any questions. If not,
Councilor Staubid.
Thank you, Mr. President. John, just real quick, would you recommend, even once the new school is in the ground and all, to continue to make that contribution to the stabilization for future schools?
Yes. You're gonna, well, it's easy for me to say yes. The math will be challenging because once, what was it, 2.7, right? So that 2.7 is a good number, as of today, for debt service associated with that project. So you're basically matching revenue with an expense, right? You should have debt that continues to run off, right? Because the city floats a lot of debt, right? Big city. So as that debt runs off, you need to recapture that debt. Ideally, you should grow that as well. So I don't think you'd be able to afford 2.7 each year into that stabilization fund. But as debt runs off, you should begin to recapture that and then continue to put it in that fund, again, because of A, you have cash available, but more importantly, B, you're keeping that in the line item. Because once and this is a challenge for a lot of communities we see, they'll see debt service run off, and the mayor or the manager will say, oh, we got a tight budget, I don't want to make cuts. Okay, well, debt service is running off, let's just use that to pay for operating. Then 2-3 years later, somebody says, well, how are we going to afford that school project? Oh, I don't know. So having that discipline over a multi-year period is really important. So yes, I just don't, mathematically, I'm not sure you'd be able to do the 2.7, but something to continue that, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lozzi.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cronin, for your service and your sound financial advice to the city. Touching on what Councilor Starb had mentioned, the school construction stabilization fund, do monies that go into that, are they eligible towards the net school spending?
If it's a major capital, well, if it's for a major project like that, that's debt, no. Net school spending, some expenses that are not net school spending eligible, transportation, bringing the kids to school, not eligible, and keeping the facility over the kids' heads, large capital projects are not eligible. Now, if, like in the ISD budget, there was what, $4 million increase, right, something like that? Those will be eligible because they're smaller in size, and I forget what the cap is that DESI has for eligibility, 150,000. So those types of projects, yes, but absolutely no for a large project like that.
It's too bad. The city struggles paying for that, and it's too bad that we weren't able to use that towards the net school spending. It seems to me it's towards net school spending. It's for, overhead, and, literally over their heads, but, yeah, that's disappointing. But, yeah, we'll get through it. Thank you.
Councilor Lapierre.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just clarification, Mr. Cronin, when you were stating, I heard that we weren't currently meeting the net school spending obligation for this year, but did you say we didn't meet it last budget as well? Did or did not? I didn't.
Did not.
And how far were we from, aren't we supposed to be 95% or more or higher?
97? 970,000.
So percentage-wise, okay, so we did not meet it, and we are projected not to meet it again until he does something with the health insurance or something?
Yeah. So has the other stabilization fund been set up? So what did you call it? So the school operational stabilization fund. So the approach that your CFO has taken is to, if you can't spend the money to meet it this year, put it over here because, as you know, you got to pay it next year.
Right.
So it's another, it's a good approach. If you can't spend it now, put it in because, DESI will tell you next year for fiscal 23, not only do you need to meet that figure for 23, you need to add to it what you didn't get in 22. And that can just snowball really fast.
So that happened to us, yeah.
Yes.
Retiree health insurance, so, okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the councilor for Sean Cronin? Councilor Field.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Cronin, thank you for the presentation. I think it's very helpful to all of us here. I'm happy that you brought up kind of that project called Assembly Row over in Somerville and how you described it as game-changing. Because for many years, and still currently, we've been asking the MBTA to step up to the plate like they did for Assembly Row, because it would be a game-changer here if they electrified the rail, ran more current rail services for the North Shore on that Rockport line. So for years, we've been asking, we'll continue to ask with our state delegation, so that some city like Lynn could have a game-changer like Somerville did, so that we could see the profits that Somerville and other communities similar to Somerville and Lynn have reaped the benefits of. Thank you.
Any other councilors? All right, Mr. Cronin, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for coming. Always good to see you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Anyone want to speak in opposition? Seeing none, that part of the hearing is closed. What is the wish of the council? Council LaPierre?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. I would make a motion to raise and appropriate $410,155,547, including $867,900 in free cash. I'd make that in the form of a motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. President.
Councilor Arlington.
This is not a question, but a statement for Mike Bertino and our DPW Commissioner. Every year I watch the budget hearing, even though I'm not city councilor, then it's the same level of funding. I want you guys to really sit down for next year to be aggressive, really aggressive with funding for DPW. I know it's there's a lot of challenges. I know you're having equipments for this year, for 2023, but we always, you guys know this, we always get calls from everything. And just based on the presentation now, it's DPW is not even seen there. So again, this is a statement. Be aggressive in the next conversation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Council Alonsug?
Yes.
Yes. Council Barton absent. Council Chakutis?
Yes.
Yes. Council Calucci?
Yes.
Yes. Council Field?
Yes.
Yes. Council Hogan?
Yes.
Yes. Council LaPierre?
Yes.
Yes. Council Lozey?
Yes.
Yes. Council Net?
Yes.
Yes. Council Starbird?
Yes.
Yes. Council Walsh?
Yes. We're going to read each one of the budgets into the record, and then we'll do a, we don't have to do a roll call. We can do a, just a motion carried, okay? After each one.
Okay, we're going to start out with the mayor and incidental, the payroll, $647,251, and the expense at $521,634.
The wish of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Administrative aid to the council, payroll $447,519, and the expense $26,208.
The wish of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Clerk of council, payroll $3,000, expense $0.
Wish of the council?
Second.
We have motion to approve. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Chief financial officer, payroll $292,222, and expense $14,000.
The wish of the council?
Motion approved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Comptroller, $435,858 for payroll and $124,310 for expense.
The wish of the council?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The treasurer payroll, $413,243 and $125,125 for expense.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, collector's office payroll, $218,117 and expense $18,140.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Assessors payroll, $596,189 and expense $100,850.
The wish of the council. Motion approved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
City clerk payroll, $612,628, expense $121,700.
The wish of the council. Motion approved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
License commission payroll, $31,602, expense $1,700.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Precinct officers payroll, $87,000.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion approved.
Motion approved. We have a second. All in favor? Opposed?
Purchasing department payroll, $390,000, expense $51,816.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
IT department payroll, $367,228, expense $872,181.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Unemployment compensation, $100,000.
Wish
Oops,
of
I'm
the-
sorry, $1 million.
1 million.
Second.
We have a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Exciting stuff.
Workman's compensation, $9 million.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion approved.
Motion approved, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Personnel Department payroll, $340,458. Expense, $74,940.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion to approve.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
City Solicitor payroll, $634,135. Expense, $167,036. And awards and executions, $19,447.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion approved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
ISD Department, $1,454,352 for payroll, $3,940,758 for expense.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. We have a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
School Inspectional Services Department payroll, $5,303,461. Expense, $17,912,805.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Planning and Culture payroll, $176,876. Expense, $75,300.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Public Safety payroll, $21,639,541. Expense, $1,374,413.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Fire Department payroll, $19,588,677. Expense, $1,139,255.
It's the wish of the council. Motion
Second.
approved. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Fire alarm payroll, $678,568, and expense, $49,572.
The wish of the council. Motion to approve. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Street lighting bills, $830,000.
Wish of the council. Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Emergency management, no payroll, expense, $15,555.
The wish of the council.
Motion approved.
Motion approved. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Harbor Master payroll, $22,100, expense, $5,040.
The wish of the council. We have a motion to approve. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Office of Animal Control, one payroll, $73,738, expense, $34,511.
The wish of the council.
Second.
Motion approved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have education, school expense, payroll expense, $207,300,000, expense, $1,250,000.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
We have an abstain. Motion carries.
Okay, Department of Public Works payroll, $3,483,734, $11,346,164 for expense.
It's the wish of the council. Motion
Second.
approved. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Parking Department payroll, $792,168, expense, $184,574.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Council on Ages payroll, $193,500, expense, $15,000.
It's the wish of the council. Motion to approve. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Office of Veterans payroll, $252,154, expense, $23,459, veterans benefits, $650,000.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. We have a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
The library payroll, $1,005,387, expense, $170,534.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
Celebrations, Independence Day, $10,500.
It's the wish of the council.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
We have the GAR payroll, $62,794, expense $20,401.
It's the wish of the council.
Second.
We have a motion approved, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we have total culture and recreation, non-departmental, capital, $867,900.
The wish of the council. Motion
Second.
approved, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Insurance, $2,299,000.
It's the wish of the council. Motion approved, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Health and life insurance, $46,750,783.
It's the wish of the council. Motion to approve, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Reserve fund, $1,475,000.
It's the wish of the council. Motion to approve, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Supplemental reserve fund, $1.
$1.
Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we have the FICA match at $3,001,705.
It's the wish of the council. Motion to approve, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
School construction stabilization fund, $750,000.
Wish of the council. Motion to approve, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Wage stabilization fund, $1,280,000.
It's the wish of the council. Motion to approve, second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
We have the indebtedness, interest, $2,338,486.
The wish of the council. Motion approved, second.